Good evening, everyone. Back in 1922, the world of racing was developing a bit of a safety conscience. We were developing ourselves in a world where Brooklands and Indianapolis were already purpose-built racing venues. And then the Italians decided they also wanted to get in on the action, and what resulted is one of the most incredible race circuits in Europe, if not the world. Monza is a circuit that has been around for over 100 years. It's played host to so many different championships, racing memories, and all of Italian heritage. But tonight it plays host to round 11 of season 11 here with ACC Race Nation. I'm Jack Millington, your commentator as always for the GT3 action. I'm really excited to get involved in all of the content that is going on today. It is going to be a fantastic event. I know that the drivers have been talking amongst themselves before the race about the difficult challenges that this circuit provides. Yes, it's a fast circuit. It will lend itself quite well to a number of cars, but the stopping zones at this circuit are notable. It's very, very easy to make a mistake. And let's not forget the challenges of the Lesmo corners that Byford Rue and Howard Dunn have just gone through, and the Scari chicane that they're coming up to. Big corners where you could gain heaps of time, and that's what the drivers are aiming for in the remaining 12 minutes and 10 seconds of this qualifying session. We'll see how everybody adapts to this beautiful race circuit in a wonderful part of the world. Hello to everyone who's watching as Jacob Byford Rue has a big spin coming out of a Scari and goes back into the pit. We'll follow Joe Warner, who's in a slightly different liveried M4 today by the looks of things. It looks a little bit different from the usual. I don't know whether that is because of the... Yeah, I don't know if that's just because of the lighting in the round. It looks very dark today, so we'll see how the drivers can get on with that, if that ends up becoming an issue. But like I say, we've got 12 minutes to go in the qualifying, 11 and a half now at this point, and we have got a lot to talk about. So let's get on with that as we follow Tony Sokolov going down the straight between. We've got Fabio Matt in the background just having a bit of a problem there with his internet connection. But yeah, Tony Sokolov, one of the drivers competing for the championship. And of course we are now, let's not forget, in the final stages of this wonderful season 11. Let's not forget, 4 races to go after this one, and it's all to play for in the drivers' standings. We'll talk about that in just a moment's time. I want to come back to a couple of newcomers who are in for this evening. In fact, one of them is on provisional pole. Let me just have a look to make sure that I've got this accurate, because sometimes things can go a little bit wrong. Yeah, there we go. It's David I'm going to say it's Davi, who is the debutant tonight. He's a Brazilian. I'm going to look and say that his name is Seixas. It also looks like Seixas, could be. But he is currently in pole position with a 147.582. So the Ferrari 296 GT3 just coming into the pits of that purple and white livery. It's Mark Chapman in second place, tied for the Drivers' Championship lead at the moment. Sokolov is third. And then we've got our other newcomer today, which is Sebastian Gorano. He's in fourth in the 44. He's also driving a 296 Ferrari, which have currently occupied the top 3 spaces of the grid, the only outlier being Mark Chapman. Rounding out the top 5, Hartle Toby in the Mustang. Expect that to have some good race pace. Then you've got Dan Hatton, Jordan Harding, Rover Rakatamanga back in the championship. Good to see him back, the Frenchman, this time in a Porsche. So it'll be fascinating to see how he gets on in a very JPS livery inspired colour scheme there, as Jordan moves himself up to 5th place. That's a very competitive effort from him. Jeffrey Van Buren is 9th, and Michael van der Waal rounds out the top 10. He's made a couple of adjustments to that colour scheme that he runs. So whilst we just briefly cover everything for a moment, just bear with me. I'm going to say for our pole sitter at the moment, I'm going to call him Davy, and not had an official confirmation of how to pronounce his surname, so I'm going to go and figure this one out for a moment. But let's have a look. With 8 minutes and 22 seconds to go, this circuit will provide a lot of opportunities for overtaking. It's not going to be a challenging circuit to overtake around. There's plenty of opportunities as we go on board with the number 44 of Sebastian Renault. So he puts the car through the final corner, effectively at Curva Alboreto. Let's not forget, I know that it's in the heart of all Italians known as Parabolica, but it was renamed after Michele Alboreto, the former Formula 1 driver for Ferrari, amongst other teams, of course. Byford Rue currently in 16th position. There's Joe Warner, Tony Sokolov in 3rd place. Fabio Matt circulating. There is Davy, who's been pushed down to 2nd place. And he's now building onto another push lap. Not much time to go for him, but it is actually the debutant of Renault, who is on provisional pole at the moment. So the two newcomers are sticking it to the regular drivers right now, but the gaps aren't large. If we go back and have a look at the timing screen, yes, the top 3 separated by less than a 1/10 of a second. So Sokolov flying the flag for the season regulars. Mark Chapman's in 4th place. Howard Dunn's in 5th. He's not in 4th place anymore as Mark Chapman. He's on provisional pole. So this has all the potential to keep dropping in lap time here. We're down to the 47.4s. I saw in practice a few drivers going a little bit quicker than that. So can Davy respond? Oh, he runs very wide at Lesmo 2, but gets away with that. Lesmo 1, I should say. There's Jordan Harding. He's less than half a second. You know, the half a second covers the top 8. It doesn't anymore as Hartle Toby now re-establishes himself at the front of the field. 300ths quicker than Chappers in the Aston Martin. I said that Mustang will be quick around here. It is a car that is well suited to this racetrack. Oh, Dunn comes across the line. Oh, Jordan Harding having a huge moment. He's going to go off at Ascari and tags the wall. I'd be surprised if he didn't go into the pits. Someone else kicking up the dust, and that was Fabio Matt. And of course, you know, let's not forget Fabio Matt at his home circuit. The Italian, 18th in the driver's standings, best result. Back at round 6 in 12th place. Can he do something this evening to beat that target? He's in the ballpark right now. He's 2 seconds off the pace, but he's not far away from Ross Harris, who's in the pits. Sebastian Berger. Expect him to be potentially up there a little bit higher. He did win last week, let's not forget. But what we also have to remember is because of his victory last week, he will be carrying bias. As in ballast, I should should be carrying ballast, I should say. So keep an eye out for him. So that's something that he's going to have to contend with. Whether he can find any time from that, we'll have to wait and see. But just to give you an overview of the championship as it stands, Danny Zoutenbayer, reigning champion of course, leads the way, but he's not on his own. He's tied on 250 points with Mark Chapman and Stuart Packham, but the problem is that, as you can see on the timing tower, Danny Zoutenbayer is not here as it stands with 4 minutes 20 seconds to go. So if he's not racing tonight, that is going to be a huge impact in his championship. So Mark Chapman and Stuart Packham looking for another championship crown to add to the ones that they already have. Jeffrey Van Buren's not far away though. He's on 247 points, so the top three all on 250. Van Buren in the pits, he's on 247. In fifth place, also in the driver's standings and on circuit, Tony Sokolov, the Croatian, on 244. So those five are exceptionally close together. Dennis Penders is a bit further back on 218. I can't see Dennis Penders in for this evening. Now, normally the 103 is normally in the top 10, but he's not here tonight, so sadly he's going to slip a little bit further down. Davies Altenbayer, I imagine, is not going out there. He may have a qualifying ban to serve, so he's in 7th in the driver's standings on 217. Hartle Toby, who's second on the grid at the minute, he's 8th on 210 points. Jordan Harding and then Howard Dunn are both on 200 points. So that is Gray and JPH, those two both on 200 points, round out the top 10. But it's all to play for tonight, really is indeed. And I'm excited to see how the newcomers get on in the form of Sebastian and Davi, how they do. But at the minute it's Sebastian, Gore Renault. He's got a 147.1 with less than 3 minutes to go. We're watching Hartle Toby come round the final corner. In fact, I want to get a lap on board with somebody. We haven't managed to do this yet during qualifying. Hartle Toby's going to come across the line as Howard Dunn goes up into 4th place. That's a great effort from him. Just looking to see, I think it was Michael van der Waal who looked to be coming around the final corner. Yeah, there he is. So let's ride on board with the Dutchman. Van der Waal then builds up through the speed. How quick is the McLaren down this main straight here at Monza? Oh, well, we're never going to find out. He's pulled right over out of the way, so that's that flying lap over and done with. Davi looks like he's going on to a lap. He's coming down the main straight. There we go. So on board with the Ferrari, 174 miles an hour. Has to spot his braking zone for the first chicane. Into first gear. Little bit of sliding from the 296. Doesn't want to be as compliant as Davi would have hoped. But he's going to build through the gears up to then turn 3 at Curva Grande. Completely flat in pretty much any weather condition, especially in these cars. Won't be a problem. Now he's got to spot the second chicane's braking area, just between the 150 and 100 metre marker board. He's going to go into second gear. Nice use of the curves, but not hitting the big sausage curve. A little wobble on the exit, but no harm done. He's got Lesmo 1 to go through now at turn 6. Oh, a kick of oversteer from the 296 on that curb. See if he can navigate the second Lesmo corner. He's sliding, he's sliding, he's sliding. He just about gathers the car up together, but you can see the top left corner. He's lost a little bit of time, less than ideal for the Brazilian. He's going to fly towards Ascari then for turns 8, 9 and 10. Again, looking to the right hand side, spotting the braking zone just now, down through the gears. He chooses third in the Ferrari, looking quite more compliant through here, but he's run wide and that's going to compromise him on the exit, and over into the gravel trap he goes. He will have time to finish off this lap and set another one, but he is slowing down as he approaches the Curva Alboreto. In fact, he's onto the grass, so whether Davi will get out there again is another matter. It's still at the front, the debutant in the form of Gore Renault. Hartle Toby's second, Mark Chapman's third, Dan Hatton is fourth, Howard Dunn in 5th place. He's not going to improve on that lap time. I'm just looking to see if Davi's going to improve. No, so that's as high as he's going to be. 7th place. What about Sebastian Berger? No, he's done for qualifying. Rover Rakitamanga, this has been a really good start from him. A first appearance of the season for the Frenchman. He's 11th at the minute. Can he get up there inside the top 10? He's on a good lap, and he does. Rakitamanga in the top 10. It's like he's never been away. What about our current pole sitter? No, he's going into the pit. So we move over to Joe Warner. He's coming towards the start-finish line. What can the M4 do? He does make an improvement. Gets that time down a little bit more. Tony Manley, the other Italian in tonight at his home race circuit. Can he improve? He can't. He stays where he is. Looks like Dan Hatton is done. What about Chapman? Can he respond at the end of qualifying? No, he can't. So it comes down to Jordan Harding. It doesn't come down to Jordan Harding. He's going into the pit lane. So Sokolov, that's too deep, and I think that's game over for him. So unless Byford Rue finds 3.3 seconds, I think we're going to have Sebastian Gorhar-Renault. He is going to be the man to take his first pole position. Watching Byford Rue as he approaches Curva Alboreto for the final qualifying lap in this session. Round he comes, turn number 11. Oh, he's just about held to the back of the car. I don't know how he gathered all that together, but the M4 will be 16th in the end. So it is, for the first time in ACC Race Nation, Sebastian Gorhar-Renault has taken pole position. You can't see, but in second place it is Hartle Toby in the Mustang on the front row of the grid alongside our pole sitter. Row 2 consists of Mark Chapman and Dan Hatton. Then it's Howard Dunn and Tony Sokolov for row 3. Davy and Harding will be on row 4 with Michael van der Waal and Rover Rakatamanga rounding out the top 10. Sebastian Berger clearly struggling with that ballast that he's got on the car. Those 30 kilos are going to certainly be impacting him around this circuit. The 585 outside of the top 10 in qualifying, with Jeffrey Van Buren in 12th place. So a couple of the championship protagonists not in position to where they typically would be. Tony Manley is in 13th with Ross Harris in 14th position. Fabio Matt, the second of the Italian contingent, he lines up in 15th with Jacob Byford Rue alongside him. Joe Warner is on row number 9 with Rich Jarram having not set a lap time in 18th place. Liam Watkinson didn't set a lap, nor did Stuart Packham, nor did Davy Zausenbayer. Those are your 21 cars ready to go motor racing tonight at this historic race circuit. It really is fantastic. It's a circuit that hosts all manner of different championships. It's of course got its history of the high speed oval, which has been around pretty much since it was commissioned in the 20s, but since then the mystery almost of the banking, almost the heritage, has become very pronounced. There's been a lot of calls within smaller media to talk about whether they can reopen that banking for some competitive use. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It's always seems like a byproduct of its time. It is quite overgrown, but you never know. We never say never. And in terms of the lap times tonight, what we're expecting from the drivers, the official lap record of the GT3 drivers around here is set just earlier this year, actually, at the Monza International GT Open Round Series. That was by Tommaso Mosca in a 296 GT3, of course. An Italian at his home circuit. He did a 144.278. So, can the drivers eclipse or get anywhere near the times set by the Italian, who was born in the year 2000, for those who want to feel just a little bit older than what they want to. I'm going to give myself just a moment to catch a breath, and we'll be ready for the 1 hour race here at Monza.
Seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
So here we go then, the drivers getting underway for this formation lap. as they set themselves off. Get the tyres all warmed up, get themselves dialed into this race circuit. And as I've said before, the Temple of Speed giving us 11 corners that will promote serious challenges to anybody who runs even slightly offline at this racetrack. It is imperative for good consistency around here that the drivers can keep hold of their bravery and also their bottle. That's going to be just as important as their bravery. I'll go to Hartwell Toby, who's running in second place at the minute. Just whilst we wait at the moment, just had a little bit of an update for my own benefit. So for our pole sitter in the form of Sebastian Goho Renault, don't actually have a nationality for our pole sitter, so can't really refer to him in the way that I typically would with other drivers. So Goho Renault is going to have to crack on as best as he can, and I'll have to adapt. Just bear with me one moment, I'm having some issues. So here we go then, lining ourselves up before Curva Alboreto. How does our pole sitter react here for the first time? Goho Renault in that 296 GT3. And how will our other drivers get on tonight as we come around this final corner? The cars now lining themselves up, ready for an hour's worth of racing here at the Temple of Speed. Who's going to get away with the best start? The race is live here from Monza, and that looks like a cracking launch from the Ferrari. Hartwell tried to come across, but almost slithered into the path of Chapman. Now you're going to have the slipstream effect, and he is coming up on the outside. It's Dan Hatton in that McLaren, but they are side by side into turn one. And the pole sitter has retained first place into turn one. They're all trying to filter the way through as best as they can. That's Howard Dunn losing out almost a little bit to Tony Sokolov. It's going to be under pressure from Jordan Harding in the McLaren. Looking further back is Tony Manley fighting with Liam Watkinson, who's had another good start in that McLaren. He typically does do well on the initial getaway phases. Howard Dunn, though, side by side with the McLaren, and number 16 slivers down the inside at the second chicane, and he swings on through. Does JPH. That's Jordan sliding again, but Howard Dunn tried to get on the power, couldn't find that momentum, and doesn't retain sixth position. That's Byford Ruoff in the background, going all over the grass. I think he's just about got away with it. Fabio Matt has moved himself up a couple of spots as well, so a good start for him. The Italian fans will be loving that. Tony Manley's kind of stayed where he is, so it's all going okay for the time in. No one has facing the wrong way, which is what we like to see on the opening lap. Rich Jarham, though, at the back of the queue, so he's had a little bit of a slow start. Chapman, though, trying to find his way through, although to be fair, he's going to go round, I think. Oh, he's just about held it. Sokolov did really well not to run into the back of him, in fact, lost a lot of momentum. Goodness me, Chapman is very, very lucky to have survived that one. I thought for a moment he was going to go round, but the Aston Martin stays in front of Sokolov as Howard Dunn moves past Jordan Harding. So those two have swapped places twice on this lap. But look at Sokolov all over the rear spoiler in these opening stages as we cross over the line to complete the first lap of this 1 hour race here at Monza. Sebastian Renault has already opened up a fantastic gap of 2 seconds from Hartle Toby, so the pole sitter making good on the pace that he's shown so far through practice and qualifying. Ross Harris is leading a little group just further back here in 9th position, so a nice start for Ross, the highest Porsche in the field. They're all together really, there's 3 Porsches covering 4 positions. There's Ross in 9th, there's Rover Rakatamanga in 11th, and Sebastian Berger clearly lugging all of that ballast around. He's going to be in for a long race, is the 585. You can just see him at the back of that shot there, the lime green stripe running through the third of the Porsches in view. That's one of the McLarens, so that was Liam Watkins getting a bit sideways in the background, and that's Fabio Matti to the wall before Lesmo 1 into the gravel trap, and unfortunately the Italians won't be too happy with that. He falls down the field. Stuart Packham works his way past him. Packham now up into 15th place. Sadly for Fabio Math, that looked like quite significant contact with the barrier, and I think he's going to have to go into the pit. I was just watching then Berger flying right up the back of his fellow stablemate. Let's just return to the garage and we'll just get on board with a couple of drivers. So Dan Hatton in 3rd place, what a start. Looking for that first podium in ACC Race Nation. Can this be the night? He's putting the pressure on Hartle Toby, who is struggling a little bit here in his opening 5 minutes. Well, I wonder for Hartle Toby how he's adapting without the ballast. He's been running a lot of ballast in the last few weeks. He's been very competitive, but this is the first race he's done where he's not run it in about 3 or 4 races. So has he got the pace to do anything about Sebastian Renault, who's flying at the front? Chappers is there in 4th, it's Sokolov in 5th place, Howard Dunn in 6th, but unfortunately we have lost the debutant, sadly, in the form of Davi Seychos. Looks like he's gone from the lobby. I can't see the number 44 anywhere on our timing tower, and that is a great shame. Whoa, as Howard Dunn kicks up the gravel on the exit of the second chicane there. For those that don't know, that is the Variante della Roggia. But sadly, we've lost one of the debutants who was looking so impressive in qualifying, and I'm fairly certain we just had a car going off the road there. Michael van der Waal joining the crew of drivers who've kicked up the dust on the exit of Lesmo 1 so far. Jordan Harding at the back of this train at the minute. Well, we've seen a couple of drivers already struggling with... Oh, there you go. That's a prime example of Howard Dunn. I was about to say, we've seen drivers struggling through Ascari, and they are running the limits of adhesion for the tyres. I have to say, they are pushing these cars to the limit. We've got one car in the pits, which is Joe Warner. I did also see Davies Altenbayer in the pits early on, so I don't know if those two have made contact, unfortunately, but if they have, that has put them a lap down. A lot of work to do. One problem that Dan Hatton is going to have, though, as he chases after Hartle Toby, is the straight line speed of that Mustang is going to be quite phenomenal, and it's going to be a challenge. The McLaren is, and sadly for the number 75 of Joe Warner, he picks up a penalty. Stop go for his pit limits, and 318, which I believe is Tony Manley. So it's gone bad to worse for the Italians in the opening 10 minutes of the race. One of them's been in the wall, and the other one's got a drive-through penalty for track limits, which is very early on. We're only on lap 3 of the race, so that's a worry for drivers. If they're going to see Manley with that penalty, they're going to have to keep themselves in check as well. The track limits around here, I've already seen there's a few people taking liberties. The game will punish them quite spectacularly for it. But Dan Hutton, the man at the minute putting the pressure on to get into second place. Oh, look how strong he is through the middle part of the lap here. The McLaren just dancing over the curbs, and look at the Mustang is just shaking all over the road. As quick as it is, the compression of that car is not as great over the curbs compared to the McLaren that we're on board with. So any issues for him in front of us in terms of Toby, he's going to go off the circuit. We're right at the slipstream, less than 2/10 between the Mustang and the McLaren, but look at the straight line speed of the Mustang. It's just creeping away. Now the slipstream comes really into effect for the McLaren, and he's closing that gap down, but even being 2/10 behind is not quite enough, and Hutton is going to have to work his way through in an unconventional way. Whether he manages to do that, we'll have to wait and see. A little bit further back, Ross Harris has got a queue of cars behind him. It's got Sebastian Berger, who's bounced himself back into the top 10. Van Buren's there. Rover Rakatamanga's there as Liam Watkinson cuts over the chicane at turns 1 and 2. Stuart Packham's involved in this fight as well. Tony Manley at the back of it, but he's going to have to serve that drive-through penalty, as you can see with the DT notice on the left-hand side of your screen. But Sebastian Berger, well, he didn't have the easiest of qualifying sessions. Oh, Michael van der Waal, I've seen him go off the road a couple of times now. He is really pushing. We'll ride on board with Jeffrey Van Buren because he'll have a pound town seat for the action in front of us. So the two Porsches will be equal in terms of pure performance. It'll come down to setup. I don't think Berger's going to be close enough to make a lunge into Ascari. And Harris won't want to move out of the way. Harris was involved in an incident with Danny Zoutenbayer last week, which came a little bit to fisticuffs in the post-race comments. But in truth, it was a racing incident, as was decreed by the stewards. But Dong, he's going to go around the outside. I mean, that's a brilliant move. If he can stick this around the outside. He braked a little bit later, but there is Harris on the inside on the exit of Curva Alboreto. It's going to be a drag race towards the line. Now, Jeffrey Van Buren's the one to keep an eye on. He's going to get a double toe from all of this, but he's got his mirrors filled of Rover Rakatamango as we blast towards the first braking zone on the lap, and Harris brakes a little bit later. Van Buren gets it wrong, and he's going to go through the escape road down the left-hand side. Goodness me, he just about avoided an accident, but Van Buren is going to drop away from this fight. And there's going to be a huge scrap there for the remnants of 11th place, because Van Buren's trying to get up to speed. He's going to fall backwards, so Packham, can he go past Rover? He can, and it's just a question of can he do it on the brakes. Well, I'll tell you what, Rakatamanga's done an outstanding job and keeps the position, so might be his first race of the season, but he's getting his elbows out, and in fact, Packham's gone round. Oh no. The man who's tied for the championship lead is going backwards. He's going to be behind Jacob Byford-Rue. Well, unfortunately, the camera just cut away from a critical moment, and sadly, Packham, who was in 11th place, is no longer. And whilst that was happening, Sebastian Berger got his move completed on Ross Harris, so he's into 9th place. I'm sure he'll be happy enough with that. Let's have a little look at what happened to Stuart Packham in a little bit. Now, back in the fight at the front, Hatton has dropped away a touch from Hartle-Toby, and look at Howard Dunn. He's trying to make a move on the lapped car of Davy Zoutenbayer, who's getting blue flags and is just doing his best at the moment, is Davy. He's going to have JPH wanting to get past him. I'm just having a look back through. Yeah, Jeffrey Van Buren catching the rear of Packham. Yeah, it looked like it. I didn't want to say that without being able to confirm it myself, but Packham is not the problem right now. Chapman is the man who's got our attention, because there's been a big fight between himself, Sokolov and Dunn, all scrambling over 4th position. And this is big for the championship, this, for Chapman, because 2 of his main rivals aren't really around in the top 10 at the minute. So Chapman needs to try and hang on, because Jeffrey Van Buren's been in the pits, and Packham, I think, is gone. Yeah, he has. No, he hasn't. He's in the pits. There we go. He's gone down the field. That's what I was trying to refer to. Well, well, well. Oh, look at this at the front. You got Howard Dunn and Jordan Harden fighting hard. Oh, Joe Warner facing the wrong way. That would have certainly scared a lot of drivers in that fight. Howard Dunn and Jordan Harden, almost as if they've been separated from birth. They've been that close, these two. As Jordan Harden now moves to the inside line, he is going to have that inside line. He should be able to consolidate it, but the Aston Martin looks very strong on the brakes. However, the McLaren consolidates that inside line and moves back into the top 6. So this is a really good fight out on track at the minute. It is definitely good fun to watch. And yeah, just having a quick look back through at that incident with Packham before he did get attacked by Jeffrey Van Buren. So it was unfortunate for the Bentley. Those two have now pitted. Of course, we are just coming up to a quarter race distance so far today. On board with the number 23 AMR V8, who is doing a good job of sticking with this group. We lost another driver from this race as well, unfortunately. So we lost Davy before. Lost another driver too. Dunn's going to brake a little bit too late, and he hits Jordan, and round they go. And that was, dare I say, very opportunistic by Dunn. I think he almost braked and then realised he was going to run into the back of him, tried to avoid Harding, and, well, sadly, that is going to drop those two away from that scrap. So the mistakes are starting to come now from the drivers. I don't think Harding will be too pleased about that, but it was a shame, because it was shaping up to a good fight between the pair of them. And now they've got Sebastian Berger, so the 585 on his recovery drive from the lower end of the grid positions is now just half a second, less than half a second behind these two. And a 148.7, he's flying in the Porsche right now. He's doing an outstanding job. Tony Manley running in 15th place, Chapman in 4th. But the thing for Chappers is that they've caught back up to Hatton, and now the other thing for the 3 of them is that they'll be aware of the fact that Harding and Dunn are currently out of the fight for the final spot on the podium. So that'll take a little bit of pressure off Sokolov. He can just fully focus on trying to get past this green liveried AMR V8. Let's not forget these two. Oh, another wide moment for Chapman. I don't think the Ferrari is close enough. We look at the back shot from the car. But as I was about to say, these two, the prime protagonists, separated by 6 points at the top of the driver's standings. Well, we can see Chapman really pushing hard. But Sokolov looking like he's got a rhythm going at the moment. Zoutenbayer moves out of the way. Oh no, it wasn't Zoutenbayer. Hartle-Toby's gone round. Hartle-Toby's gone round at Ascari. In fact, I can't see him. Has he gone to the pits? Or has he retired from the race? I just saw... Oh no, that's a disaster. I think we've lost Hartle-Toby. No, we haven't. We have not. I don't know what is going on, but sometimes my timing tower is giving me lies. But Hartle-Toby was off the road at Ascari. I'm just looking to see if we can view what happened to him. Yeah, he'd just gone off on the inside of the corner. So Hartle-Toby has dropped out of what was looking like a very comfortable podium position. He dropped Dan Hatton, who's now in second place. But as we know, 3 drivers into 2 podium places don't go. And now it's going to be on the McLaren to do what he's been threatening to do all season and get that first podium. I talk about it all the time. He has come so close on so many occasions. It's almost like a very shortened version of Nico Hülkenberg. But he is there right now, and he's got to keep putting his foot down and keep putting that pace up where he needs to be. Michael van der Waal, thanks to all the chaos, has moved into 6th position, despite his car being especially sideways at times. Something not quite right with that setup, but he's absolutely wringing the neck out of that car. But he is going to be joined by the travelling trio of Harding, Dunn and Sebastian Berger. Rover Rakata-Manga and Ross Harris are in the barrier on the exit of Ascari. Well, that has just gone to a complete disaster for the Porsche team. There'll be questions asked amongst everybody what happened there. And that's heavy. That's significant damage, actually, for Harris. So he's going to go into the pits. Rakata-Manga is still struggling to get down the straight. So, unfortunately, that accident has taken them two out of the equation for a spot in the top 10. So that's going to put, lo and behold, Jacob Byford-Rue in the top 10. I've not seen him in the top 10 since... We might have to go back to Mazzano. You know, I briefly talked about how great he was at Paul Ricard, and then all those issues happened. But right now, on merit, he's running in the top 10. Fabulous drive so far for Byford-Rue. He's just got to keep his head switched on. He's got a nice gap to Tony Manley, who we know is carrying damage. Liam Watkinson, another driver who's continuing to improve race upon race. A little bit deep from him there into the first chicane, but no dramas for him. The fight at the minute, though, is between 2 groups. The first group we're watching right now in the form of Dan Hatton and Mark Chapman, and well, it would have been Tony Sokolov, but he's of course pitted. So he's took that first pit stop very early on. Still 40 minutes to go in this race. He's going for a very serious undercut in the 296 GT3. Then it's Hartle-Toby running in 4th position. Van der Waal is 5th, but he is being closed down by Harding Berger, who has got in front of Howard Dunn. And that is the next quartet on the road. Manley and Watkinson are fighting hard over this last spot in the top 10, but they have still yet to pit. And Harris and Rakata-Manga, sadly, in the pits after that collision. But at the front, the man who won't have seen any of this, the debutant himself, the pole sitter himself, Sebastian Goho-Renault, is having a flying time. He is doing a brilliant job, and at the minute is on his way to what would be a first debut victory in ACC Race Nation. So, Oscar Renault leads the front. Oh, it's all changed. It has all changed. My goodness. Dan Hatton. Well, he was running in what was second place, but himself and Mark Chapman, for whatever reason, have fallen down the field. Hartle-Toby almost losing the back end on the exit as Ascari. This has just been one of those days where, for whatever reason, no matter what we do, we are missing the critical points of action. And Toby goes into the pit, so the German in the Mustang puts himself into pit lane. Again, that seems quite early in the race so far. We're not near halfway through this 1 hour race. We've still got 7 minutes before we get to the halfway mark as Hatton closes up to the back of the rear spoiler of Chapman. But it's all changed again, and it's brought these three a little bit into the mix as well. Jordan Harding's got past Michael van der Waal, so it's all the overtakes are happening. We're seeing absolutely none of them. Berger now trying to go around the outside of Michael van der Waal. That's going to be very difficult around Curva Grande, even if you've got a lot of momentum. But 71 moves to defend this line. Oh, that's a little bit deep from Van der Waal, and we know that Berger will lunge a move into turn number 7 at Lesmo. Has attempted to do that around the outside. Still side by side. They're both giving each other a lot of racing room, but I think Berger's going to have to back out of that, and he does indeed. But really nice racecraft from the two there at turn 6 and 7. That's a nice fight. It's still going on, in fact. Berger now trying to go to the outside before Ascari's been squeezed up towards the grass. And there's no room for the Porsche to find a way past. Stop and go penalty for Howard Dunn. Oh, and Michael van der Waal's gone off the road. So when we cut away from the action for literally 5 seconds, we miss everything that's gone on. But Sebastian Berger has now got past Michael van der Waal. The Temple of Speed, the Temple of No Replay cameras, certainly giving us some grief right now. And I wonder if Van der Waal will choose to come into the pits. No, he doesn't, but Hatton does. So running in the top 3, Hatton has decided to go into the pits. Now what is critical here for him is that he has pitted a lot later than the driver he was fighting with earlier on, as Michael van der Waal goes very, very deep, and in fact Joe Warner goes deeper than that. So critical pit stop for Hatton, because Tony Sokolov is going through Ascari corner, and this is so important for the fight for the podium, because if Sokolov has timed this well, he's going to be out in front of the man who is trying to get his first podium in the series. Will he be able to do it? We've just lost. Yeah, we have sadly just lost the pictures. I've just noticed that myself as we went through. But I reckon if my estimations are correct, I believe, judging from the speed that the number 100 of Sokolov had, he should be getting in front of the man who's just pitted. So we'll have to wait and see. Once we get the pictures back up, we'll be able to demonstrate to you that Sokolov has got back into position for a podium spot here at round 11 of ACC Race Nation. Has he done it? I'm just hearing that we are getting these screens back any second now. There we go. And let's just have a look through if we can get the race director to put us into position. There is Sokolov going round Curva Grande. And if we look further down the field, we can see that Dan Hatton is there. So I called it correctly. Dan Hatton has lost out on what is a net podium place. So the 55, he's got the attentions of Hartle-Toby back behind him. But Hatton is going to have to push hard. He's going to have to find 4 seconds in the remaining 34 minutes. This is going to be a tough challenge for him to pull this off, as both him and Hartle-Toby kick up all of the dust on the exit of Lesmo 2. Good evening to Lucas Blaha. Good to see you, mate. Haven't seen you for a while. Michael van der Waal now into the pits. Sebastian Goho-Renault leads the way. He's got an 18-second gap practically to Mark Chapman, who's still out there. Jordan Harding is continuing on as well. Sebastian Berger is in 4th place. Byford Rue, take a picture, ladies and gentlemen. He's in 5th place on the road. What an outstanding achievement. The 467 is having the time of his life in that M4. He could be on for a top 10 result, which would be incredible for him. I'd love to see it. It'd be a really good underdog story to see him up there. And he is doing a great job. He's got to make sure now he doesn't violate any track limits. He doesn't violate the stop-go penalties in terms of speeding in the pit lane. So that's got to just keep himself switched on here. Because if he doesn't, sadly, he won't be able to improve on that 15th place position that he had back at round 9. So right now he's on for he's doing a great job, but he's just got to be careful. Tony Manley, the last of the drivers yet to pit in this race, the Italian in 6th place, giving the home crowd something to cheer about. Michael van der Waal, it was saying he was in 7th place, but it is actually Tony Sokolov in 7th. So the first of the drivers who have made a pit stop. Then it's Hatton going sideways out of the chicane there. Just about getting away with that one. On the exit of Valiante della Roggia. And Hartle Toby goes even wider at Lesmo 1. He's really pushing the extremities of the track limits. Michael van der Waal is 10th. Stuart Packham, despite his turning around by Van Buren, who's just behind him, he's in 11th. Van Buren 12th. Davies Altenbayer, despite pitting on the first lap, is now up to 13th. So it's really going positively for him. Howard Dunn's stop and go penalty has dropped him outside of the top 10. That's going to be difficult for him to get back into it now. Liam Watkinson is 15th. Rover Rakatamanga and Ross Harris are still circulating in the Porsches. Massive accident for those two. Took them out of the action. Fabio Matt is 18th as Howard Dunn goes a bit deep at the first chicane. And Joe Warner, who is questioning circuit racing at the moment, according to his comments with his pit crew, he is last currently. But this circuit certainly not an easy one. Closest fight out on track between the Mustang and the McLaren of Hatton and Toby. But I think Toby's made a little mistake. He's over a second behind now. I'm doing very well, Lucas. I'm glad you're here with us. Yes, we're still with IRL. I commentate on the GT3s, though, for ACC Race Nation on a Wednesday. I've done for over a year. It's always good to be involved in the action. Be good to see you back in IRL. Well, Mark Chapman has made a pit stop. Into the pit lane he comes. No issues with speeding in the pit lane. He got that one stopped. So Sebastian Berger moves into 3rd place. We might even see Byford Rue in 4th. Can we see him running inside the top 3? I mean, crikey, I mean, that would be amazing. It would be very poetic. But there is still a long way to go in this race. We've had some very early pit stops that I wasn't expecting, if I'm being honest, in terms of the strategy today. But alas, that is the way that it's going. We still have a number of drivers circulating who are yet to pit. And now for Chapman, this will be critical because I'm looking at the track map at the moment. He is coming down the pit lane. I'm just looking to see where he is in relation to Sokolov. Sokolov coming down the pit lane now. There's Mark Chapman getting up to speed, but Sokolov has jumped the Aston Martin. But critically, Chapman has remained in front of Hatton. Now, of course, Chappers will have to get his tyres up to temperature, which will take a little bit longer. Oh, there you go. There's a prime example. He just got it all wrong. And that will bring Hatton right back into the fight for the podium places. As our Sebastian Goho-Renault race leader pits for what will assumedly be the only time in this race. But the fight is on for a podium. After that mistake from Mark Chapman. Hartle Toby's not far away from this as well. And if the other three drivers we've got in front of us of Harding, Berger and Byford Rue, we know to pit, and here comes Berger now. He's going to pit. Oh, we got a stop and go penalty for Tony Manley. Oh, that is a great shame. It's for speeding in the pit lane. That is unfortunate for Tony. So what that means... Oh, I think we've got Fabio Matt facing the wrong way. And he uses the wall physics to try and get his car turned around, but then uses the grass physics to replant himself into the wall. What this does, though, is it puts Jordan Harding into the lead of the race. Sebastian Goho Renault is in second. He's having no issues out front at the minute. And Jacob Byford-Rue comes into the pit, so we won't see him in the top three, unfortunately. But that is a cracking stint from the 467. This is last two races. He's really demonstrated his brilliant racing ability, and I think Byford-Rue's having the best season I've seen him have since I started commentating in this league. So well done to him so far. Let's hope he can keep it up for the remaining 27.5 minutes. What that will do now is that Sokolov will move... Well, I was going to say he was going to move up into third place, but the timing tower hasn't updated. But Berger has joined in right behind Hartle Toby. So whatever was going on in qualifying, Berger has fixed it for the race because he's looking very ferociously fast at the moment. I'm going to cut to Berger in just a moment's time, but Harding carrying on. Hatton there in 5th place. Sokolov there in 3rd. Packham back in the top 10. So we ride on board with Sebastian Berger. Closest fight on circuit at the minute. Oh, Hatton very wide in front of us. He's just got away with it. But that will have dropped him off the back of Mark Chapman, unfortunately. And if I'm being completely honest, what this will do... Berger was with Harding before when he pitted, and he's come out right behind Hartle Toby. This could be an opportunity for Jordan Harding to get a podium tonight, despite getting turned around earlier on by Howard Dunn. Down through the gearbox for the Porsche. Up through the gears, 5th gear for him right now, but as we saw before, that Mustang is very quick in a straight line, but he's got the slipstream at this point, and then decides to pull out of it. You can see the car building up to 173 miles an hour, slams on the brakes, down through the gearbox. No way through currently for Berger. Couple of comments coming in. Good to see you, Mikey, saying all the support for Jordan. Lucas saying he's playing iRacing now. Come join us on ACC Race Nation, Lucas. You'll have a great old time in these GT3 cars. It's a good community to be involved with. Just as fun as the other boys in IRL as well. So, of course, there's no real crossover between the two leagues. If anyone's wondering what the promotion is there. F1 and ACC are two very different breeds of game. But the 585 still plodding along here, still putting that Mustang under pressure. Toby not getting any respite at all. He's going to have to use as much of the road as possible as our race leader now pits. So Jordan Harding has pitted as these guys come through Ascari. Now Jordan has done something completely opposite to everybody else on the strategy as Toby runs into the gravel track. This is a chance for Berger. He's going to have the momentum. Now Berger's not afraid to try and go around the outside of someone at Curva Alboreto. He looks to that line now. He brakes a lot later than Toby. Is he going to keep the car on the road? He is. He's straining a lot of understeer in that car, but he's got through. Beautiful move from the Porsche, but now he's going to have to defend, and we know that the Mustang has got such a straight line performance advantage. That's going to be in the wall. It's big contact, and that is a nightmare for Sebastian Berger. I'm afraid to say that incident might just be on Hartle-Toby there. That is a huge impact. And sadly for Berger, he's the only one that's come off that wrong. Whilst that was happening, I didn't have the opportunity to say that Jordan Harding and Dan Hatton were side by side. Liam Watkinson now going wrong at the chicane. There you go, he's facing the wrong way, he spins the car around, he just locked it up all on the brakes, but Berger will be furious at that one. You can see he's still struggling to get down the straight. That's a long way back to the pits. But Harding got in front. He just about got in front. Whilst we were watching all of that action, and that is a great shame for Berger. It was a brilliant move. It was a brilliant fight between himself and Toby, but unfortunately, contact was made. I've got a direct replay that I'm just looking at the moment, and yeah, I have to say, Sebastian Berger did not move off his line. So unless there was some form of visual glitch that we didn't have access to, alas, Berger is back into the pits, and what was shaping up to be a really, really good drive has driven itself into the barrier for naught. Well, let's take a moment, let's take a breather, let's take stock of where we are at the present moment. Sebastian Goho-Renault leads the way. It's then Tony Sokolov in second position, some distance behind the race leader, who is in a league of his own. Let's just watch the time in tower as Sokolov crosses the line for the first sector. 18 seconds the gap between the two Ferraris. Then it's Mark Chapman in third position. He has just took a second and a half out of Sokolov there, so I don't know if Sokolov was dealing with traffic. Then it's Jordan Harding in fourth, who's got Dan Hatton with him in fifth position. Hartle-Toby's there in the top six. Michael van der Waal, as Toby had a very big oversteery moment as we cut away from him. Michael van der Waal having a really solid race at the moment, despite being very sideways a lot of the time. However, Packham is coming for him in the Bentley, so we'll see if the number 71 can retain that 7th place. Then it's Van Buren inside the top 10, so he's recovered well, as has Davy Zoutenbayer after that lap 1 pit stop. He's trying to take the Nismo all the way to the end. Then it's Howard Dunn in 11th place. And Jacob Byford-Rue is about to get lapped by Sebastian Goho-Renault. But I have to be honest, this is the best drive he's done this season, and he's putting in a really good shift. So he's just got to continue this on now. He's got a comfortable buffer to Tony Manley, Rover Rakatamanga, Ross Harris, Liam Watkinson and co. Berger still in the pits, Fabio Matt circulating, and Joe Warner, which is good to see still circulating. So the big fight realistically is between Jordan Harding and Dan Hatton. Hartle-Toby's tyres aren't having the best of times at the minute, but we are 1/3 of the race remaining to go. And that incident really has opened the door for a top 5 finish for these two McLaren drivers. But in which order are they going to be? Chapman is closing the gap to Sokolov for second position. Oh, Hatton got another line just that little bit wide, and then that compromised him on the exit of Roger Chicane. So yeah, as you can see in the timing tower just at the left hand side, he's dropped outside of a second. So that incident there has cost him double the gap that he originally had. Hartle-Toby off the road in the background. That Mustang is really struggling now in this later phase of the race. And let's not forget, Toby pitted earlier than the drivers around him, so if he didn't take on a change of tyres, that is going to exacerbate even more problems in the remaining 20 minutes. He's going to have to be very, very careful. But the field is spread out at the minute. This is the closest fight, but I have to say Harding is really putting the power down. He's finding his groove. Oh. What has happened to our race leader? Have we just had a little timing glitch? Yes, we have. Sebastian Goho Renault just disappeared off the timing radar, but thankfully he is still racing. Just come back to the pits, just see, yeah, Goho Renault is still circulating in the 44 Ferrari. To Sokolov's credit, has actually been matching the times in the last few laps. I don't know if Goho Renault is just slowing the tempo down now that we've got 17 minutes remaining. He can just manage that. Chapman there in third place is not being caught by Harding, and now that gap is stretching a little bit further out. So what I'm going to look towards is Ross Harris. He's in a fight with Liam Watkinson. Let's go back to this little fight for 15th place. We can ride on board with the Porsche. I have to say the Porsche is giving a lot of good sounds this evening. Really raspy engine notes, and can he find a way past Watkinson? He runs a little bit deep on the exit of Roger Chicane. He's down the inside, and the Porsche is back into the top 15. That was a straightforward enough overtake. Having a look around at the rest of the field, there's a double yellow, but that's just for Berger's car in the pit lane. Why there's a yellow flag out, we don't quite know. There shouldn't be anything else out on track that will have caused an interruption as Joe Warner runs deep at Lesmo 2. Tony Manley in 13th place, giving something for the Italians to shout about. He is quite far away though from being able to progress any higher than this tonight. Just looking at Chapman's gap to Sokolov, it's 3.8 seconds. And Sokolov has actually got that gap down to 15 between himself and Goho Renault, so I don't know if there was a mistake or traffic for the race leader on that last lap. Oh, Van der Waal runs deep. This is the fight that I wanted to cut to. And it's no longer a fight because Michael Van der Waal makes that mistake on the exit of the Roger Chicane, and Stuart Packham moves into 7th place on his recovery drive, let's not forget as well. He stalled on the gearbox for quite a long time there with Van der Waal. I don't know if that was a little bit of a zone out moment for him. Best lap he's done in this race so far, a 48.665. His last lap was a 49.3, so a little bit of time lost for him, but doing a solid job. I think for Van der Waal a couple of times this season he's not quite had the same level of pace and speed that he showed last season. But what he has shown is more consistency and just keeping his nose clean. I think that's the key for him today. That's why he's been running in places that you wouldn't expect to see the 71. So 51.7 on that lap. Let's just have a look at the timing tower just for now. So the last few laps, Goho Renault has been setting 48 and 49s, but it's been quite inconsistent since he came back out of the pits, as you can see there. 49, 48, 49, 48, 49, 48. It's been dipping in and out. If we have a look at Sokolov's since he pitted, which was way back when. He did 49s, then he dipped into the 48s, and he's not moved. So exceptional consistency from the Croatian. He's having a good time in second and is closing that gap down. And then Chapman, since his pit stop earlier on, he's also been in the 48s. He even did a 47 on lap number 20. So the top three are having a grand old time. And Chapman is reeling in Sokolov here. This is no longer questionable as to whether he's pulling the gap down bit by bit. This is an immense amount of time. Let's just go on to the next lap to see what the timings are. So if we look at Sokolov, his best lap, his last lap that he did was a 48.9, so still exceptionally consistent. But for Chapman, 47.6, the new fastest lap of the race. Wow. Someone has got the bit between the teeth. Speaking of, someone's got the bit between their teeth. Watkinson has also decided he wants to re-overtake the Porsche that got past him earlier on. Right on board with the number 4 of the approach, Curva Alboreto, for the 23rd time of asking this over 15th place. Watkinson, he runs deep. Harris saw him coming and Watkinson goes through. If I'm being honest for Ross, I think what he's trying to do is just not have any more contact. He's had a few races this season where he's just been caught up in incidents. Kind of similar to when he was running the Lamborghini that one season where every other race he was hit by somebody. But they're side by side into the chicane. I think Liam's just about going to outbrake the Porsche into turn 1, and he does. So he retains 15th place that he got past into the final corner just a few moments ago. But a developing scrap going on for second place was not on the cards. It did look like Sokolov had cleared the rest of the group, but Chapman has found his mojo, and Watkinson gets it wrong. He's going to have to go over the escape road. He's going to have to watch and bounce over the curb. I was going to say as Ross Harris overtakes him, but I think Ross had his own little moment there and was unable to get past. Davies out and by trying to lap these two, so these guys will get straight out of the way. I'm going to try and run on board. The gap down to 1.6 seconds now between Chapman and Sokolov. We'll cut to that in a minute. But I want to watch the fight that is raging for 15th position here. Doesn't matter whether they're fighting over first position, a spot on the podium, a spot in the top 10, a spot in the top 15. The fighting is up and down the field. No holds barred. They will go for it as best as they can. We can see Watkinson in front of us, just having a little wobble there mid-corner. And little wobbles in this game with the GT3 cars can just zap your momentum a little bit more than what you'd want it to do. Blue flag's flying again. And there you go. Harris gets out of the way for Zoutenbayer. Oh, and Watkinson's gone off the road. I think he was trying to avoid Zoutenbayer, but I think this will cost him. He's going to try and shut the door on the Porsche, but he realises it's too late. And here comes the Porsche up the inside at Curva Grande. And it looks like he's got that move made. Yes, there you go. I've got to say that the downshifts on the 244 Porsche sound really rough. It's nothing to do with Harris's driving, I don't believe, but it's just the way that it's pinging off the throttle limiter, the rev limiter. So, I mean, it's very sharp, the noise that comes off of it, and I feel sorry for the mechanics when they get the car back later on. They're going to have to go through that gearbox with a fine tooth comb and a mallet after that to try and figure out where they knock those gears back into place. These two, though, swapping places at the minute. It's been quite fun to watch. I did notice that, as Harris just about keeps it in a straight line, I did notice that Chapman was closing right up to Sokolov, but he made a mistake somewhere between Ascari, and it's dropped him a couple of seconds away. So that's why we're still focusing on this fight between Harris and Watkinson as they go on to lap number 26. Less than 8.5 minutes remaining in the session. It's been really good fun to watch. Up to 173 miles an hour for the Porsche. Down through the gears, Watkinson closes the gap, then just runs a touch deep, and that's going to compromise his exit out of 2, and that will give the breather that Harris needs to stay in front. Sebastian Goho-Renault, he's doing 49s at the minute. Watkinson again runs a little bit deeper. He's got confidence on the brakes, but it's compromising his line for Watkinson. See if the race director can cut over to him. There we go. And that gap between Zoutenbayer and, correction, that gap between the number 100 and the number 111, aka the battle for second, has widened quite a lot. So I don't think there's going to be any last ditch attempt from Chapman to find a way past Tony Sokolov for second, unless there is a mistake somewhere for one of those two. That gap out now to, it looks to be about 4 seconds according to the radar. As we sit in the slipstream of the Porsche in front of us, you can see Watkinson trying to go through, but that wasn't quite wide enough for a 720S GT3 McLaren. So the number 4 loses a little bit of momentum. You can see Harris starting from left to right to left to right. I think he's just doing it now to take the mick, to be honest with you. So will Watkinson decide to respond to that challenge? Oh, he's just about gathered it all up on the brakes. Harris runs a little bit deeper, and Watkinson's momentum zapped on the exit of turn 2. Let's try and ride on dashboard cam. You can see the window wipers scuffering along with the wind being pressed down at these high speeds around the Templar speed. 6 minutes remaining in the session. It's been absolutely brilliant to watch. I have to say, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, and Watkinson. Well, Harris got a wobble through Lesmo 1. It was a bump and a bang into the back of the Porsche. And credit to Watkinson, he is going to let Harris back through. And that's good sportsmanship. I think Ross will be a bit frustrated that it happened in the first place. So that fight, just tempers flared briefly, and it's going to settle down. We'll come back to that in a little bit, but let's just have a look through the rest of the field. Well, Hartle-Toby has just been overtaken by Michael van der Waal. So Hartle-Toby has been in the wall clearly, and with 5 minutes to go, he's got to try and keep that Ford pointing in a straight line. Got 10 seconds to Jeffrey Van Buren. He should be okay. Packham's recovery drive has resulted in him being in 6th, but he is far too far away now to get up to the back of Dan Hatton. So we watch that timing tower just clip over. 21 seconds. Michael van der Waal is up to 7th. A nice clean run from him. Hartle-Toby, he's been lucky this evening to be where he is, to be honest. Any other day I think he would have had a mother and a father of an accident, and it would have took him out of the race, but somehow he's just about managed to battle on. He's got 2 cars behind them that one of them lapped themselves. So Hartle-Toby carrying that damage, he's going to get overtaken by Rover Rakatamanga, and in fact he's going to move out of the way. So that's just showing you that that damage is significant on the Mustang. if it will allow the race director to move across. There we go. So let's just have a look at the... Oh, look at the issues he's having here. Let's just see what the effect this is having. He's lost 4 seconds to Jeffrey Van Buren since I joined the race director with him. I just want to see if there's any issues with his steering. You can see the wheels wobbling a little bit. I mean, that is to be expected, so it's not too bad. But what about the straight line speed? He's doing 160 miles an hour. He's struggling to get beyond that. So he's lost a bit of performance. He's going to make that a mistake, and he's going to have to go down the escape road. So Toby out braking himself. And when the mistakes come, the mistakes just follow on thick and fast, don't they, ladies and gentlemen? Sadly for Toby, that gap has just been doubled down again. And Jeffrey Van Buren is going to find himself into 8th position, and another point to help him in the championship fight. He won't be too disheartened by that. He'll be chuffed to pieces. There he is in the Ferrari. And he is catching a very wounded Mustang ahead. You can see running over the gravel trap again in the number 208. 1.2 seconds now the gap. The rest of the field are a little bit more spread out. I am just keeping an eye out for where the two of Liam Watkinson and Ross Harris are. Not as close together as they were. They're still in close proximity, but not as nose to tail. And look at this, you can see Toby just struggling through the corners. He's not got the straight line speed either. And as much as he's... yeah, in fact, he's going to let this one go. So Hartle Toby drops down to 9th position. He won't carry any ballast next week. He'll be pleased about that. But he won't get himself a spot inside the top 6, which is what he really could have done with. Because Hartle Toby is in a good fight to get 6th place in the drivers' standings. But Jordan Harding currently outscoring him by a couple of points. As is, well, Davies out by, oh, as you can see, Hartle Toby goes off the road. He's got one more lap pretty much to try and navigate. So important now for the Mustang to just make sure he gets to the end, doesn't lose 13 seconds to Davy Zoutenbayer. I haven't seen much of the big Bentley today. And the final lap of the race has commenced. Sebastian Goho Renault is not that far away from what... What I was about to say before the headset cut out there was Sebastian Goho Renault is only 3.6 miles away from his first victory in ACC Race Nation. There he is, the red, yellow and blue, number 44, has delivered a commanding performance tonight. 32 laps on the race clock. He's going to be a very worthy winner. Let's ride on board with him as he goes through Ascari, down this little straight here, underneath the old banking, just above us on circuit, and then down through the gears he goes. I'm sure this will be nice and tentative. Yeah, no problems at all for the Ferrari. He won't have any more problems from here on in. This has been a commanding performance. He was brilliant in practice. He was even better in qualifying. And the race has been brilliant to see. The debutant, the number 44, is going to round Curver Alboreto for the final time of asking. He takes the foot off the gas, flashes the lights. It's Sebastian Goho Renault who wins his first race with ACC Race Nation. A fabulous result for the number 44. Tony Sokolov will finish in second place as Joe Warner gets over the line alongside him a couple of laps down. Mark Chapman, what could have been had it not been for that mistake earlier in the race, 1.1 in the end, off second position. Jordan Harden will be pretty pleased with the recovery, fourth place in the number 16. Dan Hatton, another day. He will get that podium one day, ladies and gentlemen, it will happen, but fifth place today for the number 55. Packham's recovery drive will see him finish in sixth place as we have Tony Manley crossing the line in front of his Italian adoring fans. There, MRV8 gets across the line there in 13th position. Packham across the line now. Michael van der Waal will be the next to come across the line after the recovering Frenchman of Rover Rakitamanga. Could have had a top 10 today, but that accident earlier on with Ross Harris really did scupper those chances. Van der Waal across the line is then going to be Fabio Matt, I think, in front of his home fans. There he is, across the start-finish. Hartle Toby is just about going to keep 8th position in the end. He lost so much time at the final laps after that accident. He ends up 5.7 seconds clear of the Nissan of Davy Zattenbauer. Howard Dunn has got into the top 10. I'm astonished by that, but well done to Dunn, quite literally. And Jeffrey Van Buren has been in the wars, so that's why Howard Dunn, look at that, the car's not even tracking in a straight line. You can see that he's struggling to get the car turned. It's a good job for Van Buren that Byford Rue was a lap behind, because otherwise he wouldn't be finishing in 11th place. So one of the championship protagonists with 3 wheels working on his wagon will cross the line in 11th place. Let's just have a quick last run through of those standings. Sebastian Goho Renault wins his first race with ACC Race Nation. It's Tony Sokolov in second with Mark Chapman rounding out the podium. If my calculations are correct, he will lead the championship going into next week's race. Then it's Jordan Harden in fourth with Dan Hatton in fifth place. Stuart Packham in sixth with Michael van der Waal in seventh. Hartle Toby, after his incidents through the race, in eighth with Davy Zattenbauer and Howard Dunn rounding out the top 10 drivers. After that, you have got Jeffrey Van Buren, Jacob Byford Rue, Tony Manley, Rover Rakitamanga, Ross Harris, Liam Watkinson, Fabio Matt and Joe Warner. Those are the drivers who are officially classified in 18th place. The drivers who have retired from the session, unfortunately, we lost Sebastian Berger thanks to that incident with Hartle Toby. We also lost Rich Jarram in the early run-ins, and especially earlier than that, sadly, we lost the number 12 of Davy Seixas. Well, that is it from the action here at ACC Race Nation. There's been a lot of incidents, there's been a lot of racing. It's been fabulous to watch. Next week there is no stream, but it is a 2-hour race at Spa-Francorchamps, and then we will be into our season break. What that consists of is that for the next 3 weeks, basically until 2026, the drivers will go on hiatus before rounds 13, 14 and 15, which will all be live streamed from this channel right here. We won't see them race, unfortunately, around Spa, but we will see them race next year officially at Watkins Glen, Valencia and the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the last race of the championship. What a season it has been, and there's still more dramatic twists and turns to come, I'm sure. But I've been Jack Millington, your commentator for this evening and for the GT3 action, and wherever it might be in the big wide world, have a good one, and we'll see you, for ACC at least, in 2026.